get involved and stop it. Good luck, have fun, exchanged as you saw there between the teams, and we are going to get underway. Will we see any level 1 shenanigans this time around? Bearing in mind they've just had a break, someone may have thought of an exciting strategy to start the game.
It's definitely a possibility. We've seen a very defensive start last time, as well as Wicked securing that pink ward kill in the river. He actually popped his Zap Vision very, very early, so it does look like he's positioned to do something similar, but for the most part, everyone just playing a human ward, providing vision for their team, and making sure that nobody gives up any advantages early.
So as it stands, Yellow Pete is making himself a human ward, or I'm not even sure, a Jurassic ward maybe in that tri-bush down the bottom lane. Snoopy, of course, has covering off, and that is going to be a ward coming out in the banana bush from Krepo. So a little bit of a dance, song and dance from Svenskeren, keeping himself entertained there as he flings his anchor in the air. Like you just don't care.
The joke for Nautilus, you know, makes him swing. He's just weird like that, according to the latest screens anyway. But yeah, defensive start, we're not going to see anything, you know, really exciting. We do see some differences from the previous game, because by this point, Wicked had used both of his vision wards. So realizing that the enemy are going to be playing safe, he saved his vision for a little bit later and has decided to pop down that green ward up near the river entrance.
At least the players have got good humour. All the champions laughing there, spamming their laughs as Svenskeren and Froggen. So, looks like the Wolves will be starting off. I think I just heard the vomit coming out from Yellow Pete there, but actually he didn't manage to start it off. But he is going to take that down. It's the, come on, what's the name?
You're thinking of Void Ooze, but the ability used was Bioarcane Barrage. Yes, no, that's the vomit. Yeah, pretty much. But they pull off those wards. We're seeing an identical start from the previous game for both teams in terms of where they start, the camps that they're pulling. The red buff is chasing the test a little longer than they were anticipating. A little bit of extra help for Svenskeren, and overall, this is identical to the previous game. We'll see whether or not it remains as close, and whether or not the Copenhagen Wolves have got the mental prowess to survive the pause.
So Svenskeren's not going to use his smite, and Snoopy is not going to use his smite either, so they're going to saving that for the blue buffs. It does look like the top lane. Let's see how much they can zone out. Remember how much Krepo zoned out Svenskeren, Godbro in that bottom lane, as well as the damage going on towards Wicked in that top lane. Now,
in the previous game at 2.5 minutes, Wicked did have 3 CS. He's currently on 0. That is the difference between that game and this game.
So, wow, really. Just pulling out them stats right there. Svenskeren's going to pick up the blue buffs to see if he makes any moves towards his bottom lane, as this is. Snoopy's already picked up the blue buff, so he's actually ahead in terms of jungle paths right now, ahead of Svenskeren. So we'll see whether he can keep up that advantage on the dog. Of course, Narcissus a little bit quicker. And I don't know why I called it Narcissus.
South Africans picking up the A's. But yeah, what we did see in the previous game as well was the first blood in the bottom lane, thanks to the Nautilus and the Shen combination. I don't think that Yellow Pete and Krepo will make the same mistake in this particular game. They might play a little bit more defensive and a little bit more passive, but you can see that Sven is roaming around there, while the Test and Deficio are putting a lot of damage onto Wicked.
Yeah, but Wicked is picking up the CS there. You can see Godbro is helping out. Svenskeren's doing just like he did in the first game, not quite taking as much lane tax this time around. Godbro's been allowed to have some of it. He's just going to stick around that little bit longer and actually making Godbro miss every single CS right there.
Yeah, the Riptide and the red buff is just making life a little bit more difficult to deal with. But nevertheless, at the moment, Godbro with a very, very small lead as far as CS is concerned. In the jungle, you can actually see Snoopy going for a little bit of an invade to steal the Wraith camp away. So, can I take that big Wraith, deny the experience, and obviously start building up that siphoning strike of his a little bit more, a little earlier on.
Yeah, great use of map vision, obviously knowing that Svenskeren was not going to be there, so immediately nipped in and took it. Looks like Svenskeren wants to do the exact same, but we do see Snoopy coming around this top lane. He's in towards the tri-bush at the top there, looking like it is also going to be, we got Froggen coming up here as well. The Ghost has come out from Snoopy. He's going to get the Wither down on towards the Test. He does manage to cleanse and flash away from that one, so he should escape the danger, but those summoner spells have been used.
Exactly. So successful Gant, both Flash and Cleanse being burned means that it's off cooldown. Now we do see a little bit of an exchange here, as you can see Svenskeren moving through the jungle, and Snoopy has still not left the lane. So if he does stick around a little bit longer, they may decide to go back in for this kill. He still has both of his buffs up and available, and if he gets a good red buff slow plus the Electro Harpoons, he may be able to make it work, but that'll give away his position.
Yeah, Glitterlance comes across on towards Snoopy. They still didn't have vision of Froggen, but he has now returned to lane. It was Svenskeren trying to block him out. So Snoopy's just going to hang around here. We have Svenskeren within touching distance of them. Snoopy is taking a long time in here, and actually this is going to farm away the experience a little bit of Wicked.
So he's going to be able to get a little bit of levels, and Svenskeren has now joined the party. This will make it a 3 versus 2. Snoopy has wisely backed away as they seen the vision of Sven and realized they couldn't really win that engagement. The on-hit snare, the lockback with the dredge line, a good taunt to Decrepo means he'll take an extra tower hit.
He does manage to pop that shield though, and boom.
It's away to safety. So not too bad, just defensive play from both of these junglers. Snoop has jumped onto the test this time, though.
He's returned back on towards him. He doesn't have any escapes. Puts the hail of arrows down, but it is going to be first blood going across the Evil Geniuses. It's Wicked that picks that up, and I don't think that Svenskeren is going to be able to do anything about it.
Great play between Wicked and Snoopy, just making sure they knew how much damage they had. They burned those summoner spells, and Snoopy, he hung around a very long time. But he did manage to pick up an assist there, so that does make it worthwhile. We did see a flash out of Wicked. He flashed in range of Flamespitter, so really catching Copenhagen Wolves off guard there.
Well, advantage now, Evil Geniuses. How that compares to, say, the first game. First blood, of course, did get a Copenhagen Wolves, but Yellow Pete, he was 3-0, so there was a number of arguments to see who had advantage, and both teams feel they did as well. As it stands, though, Evil Geniuses with the slightest of advantages in this game. And there is 1,000 gold difference. Of course, that dragon is not going to get started off expected for another 6 minutes, so the farming phase in the lanes is the all-important factor, and it's actually Froggen winning out quite heavily against Bjergsen now, starting to build up a lead.
Now, that also happened in the previous game, that he had a 10 or 20 CS advantage for quite a while, but it was until Bjergsen got a couple of items, defensive stats completed, that he was able to bring himself back in. And also part of that is accrued to Froggen's farming out the Wraith camp. So, good advantage for him. He's got a fairly early Cutlass, and with level 6 he may try and burst Bjergsen down. Yeah,
and of course he did just go back to bite, so it will be a difference there. Equalizer comes out from Wicked, just throwing that out there to farm out the wave and back away to bite. And the Tess and Deficio are going to see if they can shove this lane as quickly as possible. Not too sure whether it's going to be a great deal from it. Bilgewater Cutlass was picked up by Froggen, so he's going to be doing some damage to Bjergsen, who has just gone back and completed that Seeker's Arm Guard.
So we do see another big difference, the fact that the Tess got dropped in this particular game and gave up that first blood. He is now behind in CS, whereas we've seen him holding the lead in the previous game. Currently sitting on that Vamp Scepter as well as the boots. So his lane opponent of Yellow Pete is now actually ahead, whereas in the previous game he was not. So well played by Yellow Pete to have that CS advantage and have that item advantage with the Cutlass being completed.
It's working well for Evil Geniuses right now. Copenhagen Wolves, though, still very much in this one. Just a 1,000 gold difference. The 1 kill, that's all that separates it. Snoopy going across towards blue buff, has invaded and taken away the blue buff of the opposition. This blue buff, of course, is not going to go across either. He's going to take this one away. The weather? No, that's got to be a spectator bug.
We'll double check the cooldown of that.
And that would be a very sneaky move to completely get past me.
Yeah, similar for Svenskeren. His blue buff is currently showing as being up when it actually is not. So the actual blue buff has been donated there over to Bjergsen. We'll see if or when those two champions die. Maybe that'll refresh the problem. Svenskeren is now moving down to this bottom lane, and we'll see whether or not he can successfully pick up a gank. But with Gobro putting a pink ward down, that's going to set off alarm bells for the members of Evil Geniuses. They're going to be aware something's happening, and you can see it. The second Sven walked in there, he was pinged. It was just like, well, this is a pretty obvious setup for a gank, and they should be well prepared to deal with this one.
You do see the damage being put on towards Godbro, and they realise they're being forced, but they will clear out all the CS there. So, continuing to keep that advantage. Snoopy picking up that red buff. Continues to take some damage from Yellow Pete. Snoopy, though, may well be called to arms here.
So we'll see how quickly he can respond. He does have his Ghost available. It's now off cool. Where that they're going to be in position, and the weather comes down. There's the Solar Flare.
The ultimate come down. He did actually catch on towards God. And Greppo manages to stunlock him for a short period there. Are they going to be able to take enough tank? That turret will go down finally on your screen, and now we do see, of course, Svenskeren making a move round, but Froggen is there ready and waiting.
Such great play from Evil Geniuses right now. They've taken control of the map. They've got that first tower down, and it does look like Copenhagen Wolves, they want to try apply pressure in this top lane with Svenska, and they should be able to get it.
Yeah, that's going to be a turret apiece. And Evil Geniuses, they're still pushing in this bottom lane. There's 3 members versus Godbro, and Godbro can't do a great deal about it. It's going to have the siege minion, so why not keep the damage down? They realize that top lane's going. They're going to dive on towards Godbro. I don't think they're going to have enough. Grappo taking very, very low here. Can we see it is going to be coming across here? It will be Bjergsen. Will he be able to get close enough? The Wither going is credit they can catch on towards him. Godbro doesn't want to give this one off, but the fact that Froggen is there mean they had to back away.
Great Wither onto Bjergsen, prevented him getting anywhere near Grappo. He could not get his abilities down, which meant he couldn't pick up that kill. We even seen the Bilgewater Cutlass active going down just to make sure that he simply was stuck in that lane. So good pressure from Evil Geniuses. They're showing they're willing to push even as a 3-man because they had, full information. They knew what they were working with, and they managed to get some damage on that tower and back away safely.
So let's look across the board. We can see a Sunfire Cape almost ready to go from Godbro. Godbro going in towards that top lane, so it's going to be a 1v1, and actually very even between the two this time. So we'll see how that exchange completely follows through. The Test and Deficio, they're going to go down towards the bottom, and actually pretty close between the...
I want to see actually pair up because Godbro currently has... But he's prioritizing armor right now, trying to get that Sunfire Cape, which means his lane opponent with the Haunting Guys is going to shred through his 50 or so magic resist very, very quickly. Talking about the bottom lane, we see that the Test has picked up a very, very early Brawler's Glove. So he's showed that he wants to build a Zeal, and he's just looking for that extra crit. If he gets a lucky crit on his opponent, they might go in for some aggression and try to pick up some kills.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of players actually do sometimes build in towards their runes as well. They sometimes have that 1% crit just to see. You never know, it could turn the tide of battle if they were to land it, and like you mentioned, it would suddenly make them go aggressive. As it stands though, Evil Genius is down this bottom lane. They're happy to let the wave push, and Yellow Pete is going to pick himself up a big chunk of farm here to keep ahead of the Test. Only so slightly, and Snoopy now coming down. No vision so far from the Wolves.
Now we'll see if he's just going to ghost up and run in. He's done it a few times already, and this is a setup, especially with a Solar Flare from Leona, that's going to work into their favor. The Test and Deficio are a little bit overextended. They're standing on a ward, and there's just going to be a moment before Nasus comes running in there. What they're trying to do is give the CS to Kog'Maw, but they've caught up Froggen.
The flash from the Shockwave, he's going to get to the turret. Meanwhile, down the bottom lane, they are going to go for it on towards them. We can finally catch it, but the Chain of Corruption comes out from the Test, and somehow they managed to escape that gang. He has used everything. You can see the flash, the cleanse, and that Chain of Corruption. Everything had to be burned.
And Froggen escapes with his life in that middle lane. That's a lot of crowd control that was put down on top of him, but he just managed to get both his shadow and his flash to get away to safety. Blue buff is up, and it does look like it was actually smited there by Svenska.
I'm assuming, yeah, it was Svenska that had to use that one. So the pressure actually working from Evil Geniuses, despite the fact they didn't get it themselves, it does put problems and pressure on towards Bjergsen. Bjergsen really needs that blue buff on Orianna.
And what we do see again, very similar to the previous matchup, he fell behind a little bit early, but he's maintained that 10 CS difference as the game has gone on. So only sitting 12 creeps behind his lane opponent. Slightly different in terms of his item build. He had a Ruby Crystal on early on in the previous game, and obviously went, well, look, Froggen didn't really go all in on me, so I don't need to have that extra crystal right now. And instead, his finishes Rite of Ages a little bit sooner.
Shadow Dash from Godbro doesn't want to catch on those harpoons, does anyway. And he's going to be just stuck away from Wicked here. Wicked with the advantage over him so far. Has got that level difference. Not a great deal, but those items, the fact he's got that Sorcerer's Boot and the Haunting Guys, and now we see Froggen possibly coming over there. He will see him. He's got a ward in that Tribush.
So he knows Froggen's there, and he's only got 47 magic resistance. So the damage threat is really going to be more from Wicked than from Zed. He's got a lot of armor that's going to help out his cause, and you can see Svenska is... If they go for a dive, you know, Nautilus will be able to be there and try help out. But let's look for some dives, and the taunt goes out just missed.
That's the Shadow Dash. We do have Deficio heading up there as well. He wants to get in and help out, so they're going to try and turn this into a semi-finals. Of course, the loser of this They do go down to the Summer Promotion Series. That will be happening next week. And, well, we've already mentioned it is going to be versus Sinners Never Sleep or TCM Gaming. It's going to be one or the other, whoever wins that opening amateur match.
So it's going to be a very important matchup. And, of course, the winner of this will be taking on Fnatic in the semi-finals, which we will see tomorrow. So a lot on the line, and of course, if the whoever the winner is, they will be securing their spot in the summer split. Right now, Copenhagen Wolves 4K gold behind. They're not out of it, but they cannot afford to give up more objectives and more presence. If you consider the Dragons and the tower difference, that is where the gold comes from. So if they can pick up, 2 or 3 of them together, it'll immediately balance out this game and make sure they have similar amounts to spend. Godbro's going to pick a fight here, and I don't think he can win it. Not against the Leandri's Torment and the Sorcerer's Shoes.
Yeah, and as it is, I mean, Copenhagen Wolves really are a team-fighting team, so they need to get those 5v5s happening. But as it stands, they fell so far behind in the lane phase that it's actually going to be tricky when they do get those team fights going. If they can't get on towards Yellow Pete, they could be in trouble because Frog is going to be able to dive through and either take out Bjergsen or the Test.
And I'm really happy you pointed that out, as the red buff is being stolen away. Svenskeren is going to go in there. I think he smited it, but he's been caught.
He has been caught. Stan United is not available, and that means Svenskeren is very much a dead creature. I'm not too sure what it is exactly.
Diver?
Diver? A dead diver?
A dead diver.
Pam Shriver.
But he's down now. We see at the bottom lane there is a fight, and you can actually... Froggen picks up a kill on the Test.
Well, there was a fight, but we didn't see it, and Froggen managed to get that kill pretty quickly.
Yeah, he managed to burst him down very, very quickly. Fortunately, cameraman missing that one. That's how quick it was. Nevertheless, 4-0 up. Froggen now 221 CS to the 185 of Orion, so well played.
Evil Geniuses are going to push on towards the top lane, and it does look like they are going to put the pressure on towards this turret, and they will take it down. I don't think there's a great deal that Copenhagen Wolves can do about this one. They're going to dive on towards Godbro. Godbro now caught out. The equalizer comes down. There's a sunburst. He has had been wild growth. He may well just about escape this one with his life. Yellow Pete wanted to continue on that one, but couldn't catch him.
So put a lot of abilities down, but they couldn't get the kill. It doesn't matter, though, because they're able to pick up the tower. So successful play there for Evil Geniuses. And you can see the tankiest members of the Wolves, they cannot survive the damage that is coming down from their opponents. And Evil Geniuses are looking very, very good right now.
They're looking very good indeed. It's 4-0 in kills, and that gold advantage very much in their favor. And Evil Geniuses, I don't know, honestly, the Wolves, they really need to try and turtle this one up. They need to try and stop it. They've used a lot of ultimates just to defend that top turret, and it still didn't work out for them. And they just had to use those ultimates just to save themselves, really, in the fight.
And this is something that they did well in Game 2 that helped the Copenhagen Wolves win, is that they waited for the ultimates to get used and then picked the fight when they realized they had an advantageous battle. So, we'll see if they can make advantage of that, but their windows are very, very short, because Solar Flare has a relatively short cooldown.
Yeah, I feel that so much now is on Bjergsen's, is Shockwave, that everything is literally dependent on that landing.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. It's literally the truth, and it's something that we said in the previous game as well, that in terms of the damage sources from Copenhagen Wolves, it's only Orion and the Test that can actually have that in place. So, fair enough, the Test has a good CS advantage, but there's a lot of burst that can come down from many different sources of Evil Geniuses, and if he's taken out or the Shockwave doesn't deal enough, that's pretty much tickets for that team fight.
Well, we see that the bottom wave, Yellow Pete shoving that one on. You can see Snoopy, he's hanging around ready and waiting for that blue buff to spawn. He wants to take it the second it is up. He's got Yellow Pete coming up as well to try and help him out. They're going to take away the Wolves. Meanwhile, we see Froggen, he's shoving along that top lane, and the rest of Evil Geniuses, they're putting pressure on this middle lane.
And this is exactly what Evil Geniuses will be doing for the entirety of this match. They have championed that split push well, as Yellow Pete's caught out the Test.
He's going aggressive, and look at the damage. Forces the Chain of Corruption come out, and that surely means the rest of Evil Geniuses may turn this one around. They are pushing in towards the mid lane, but EG are not in position to collapse on towards Copenhagen Wolves just yet, but it does look like this bottom turret is going to go down.
That was a straight up 1v1. Yellow Pete just completely outplayed the Test in that particular engagement. Got the slow on him, got the vision from his living artillery, and then just got so much damage from MOHGamiing Barrage, which is percentage HP plus the percentage HP from Blade, which is why the Test got shredded so quickly.
So, as it stands, Evil Geniuses, they have this big advantage. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to finish the game as quick as possible, or will they let the Wolves farm themselves back into it? This is what happens with Evil Geniuses. They do take a while to finish. Sometimes it can be slow suffocation, but often they don't finish the game quickly, which does bring the Wolves back into it. That's what happened in Lille. That's what's happened before, you know, against many teams, is the fact that they can't quite finish as quick as they'd like, but they just play safe. And that's the style that they've all been used to.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. You know, depending on how these two particular teams, you know, itemize right now is going to be very, very important. If they are able to actually focus down Yellow Pete in his team fights and survive the burst from Zed, they can win. But that's the two, you know, keys. They need to get the shields on the right targets and ensure that that plays out well.
So we do see Froggen returning towards that bottom lane. The rest of Evil Genius is stacking in the mid lane. And Froggen continues to get a lot of free farm, and it's causing so many problems. Bjergsen, I don't remember the last time Bjergsen was actually involved in one of these fights. You can see he's at 0-0-0. The 4 kills. He's not really been around there. The one time we've seen him trying to use that ultimate with aggression was when Yellow Pete flashed away from the shockwave.
He's just been farming it up. He was 40 or so CS behind Froggen, which he has managed to close. But look at the positioning now for Evil Geniuses. They've got great vision control over the entirety of the blue buff jungle of the Wolves, which means they're just going to take the third dragon of the game completely uncontested. They have positioning, they have vision, and they've just denied the objective completely. And they extend that gold lead to 7,000 gold right now, which is a massive, massive amount this early in the game.
It is a big advantage, and also, you know, the fact that Godbro can't really solo Wicked, which means the split push can't work for them. So they have to start creating something. Oh no, Bjergsen is well away from this one, and this is surely going to turn Evil Geniuses. They're going to push on towards the inhibits turret.
So they're going to have position on this one. We'll see how quickly Bjergsen can get back. It is going to be a 4 versus 5, but look at the positioning from EG. They're continuing to pick somewhere where they're happy to make an engagement. And right now, they weren't willing to go on the inhib because they've got the mid-inner. This is League of Legends by the numbers. Take every single objective, starve your opponents of farms and of towers, and honestly close out the win.
Yep, everybody that's played the game has played the tutorial, and EG are just showing you exactly what you need to do. And unfortunately, they don't have Ashe on the map, though. Instead, they're using multiple different champions, but it's still pretty much the same principles.
Yeah, same basics, you know, push down the objectives. In terms of all the kills as well, Yellow Pete's the only member of Evil Genius is letting the side down without a kill. And you got 1-0-1, 1-0-1. It's like looking at a binary board right now. EG, with that Oracle's Elixir clearing out the vision around Baron, and you can immediately tell they're going, well, we've got so much percentage HP damage, the Liandries, the Blades, the Cogs, they can shred Baron extremely quickly, and Copenhagen Wolves are going to have to be very aware of that.
Fortunately, I'm trying my best to remember my college days of hexadecimal, and I just can't quite calculate what that would mean actually in binary. It's been a while for me. But as it is, it's 4-0 right now, 25 minutes into the game. And
for a moment, I thought somebody was going to walk into his trap, but instead the Wolves just decide to move over to... The ability didn't go down, but he was so afraid of the threat. The Liandry's Torment plus the Blasted Wand. Amped home. Bjergsen is a definite burstable possibility. Scared.
He's running very scared, and that's on his hourglass. Going to be a while, but more importantly, the flash. The flash is down, and Evil Geniuses will know that. And look at every single wave. It's constantly being shoved up, shoved up. They're gaining more gold every single time. They keep on pushing. And, well, it's looking like they may try and force this Baron fight.
And you can see with Crepo, he's clearing out wards in and around the red buff of the Wolves. So if you look at all the vision, that's what it is. A good flash from Wicked. That was fantastic reaction times.
That would have been the gauge that Copenhagen Wolves could have done with, because Froggen was not there. He was taking the blue buff, but instead didn't quite land. It does mean a flash has been burned from Wicked, so if they can try and catch the shockwave towards him, he won't be able to escape it.
Yeah, that is the truth. And look at the positioning here. Evil Geniuses, they want to start this fight. Equalizer is available for Wicked. Are they going to go in? That is the question. Right now, it is just a moment difference. And if the Wolves overstep, this fight will happen.
They keep on looking forward. Look at Evil Geniuses. They're still sat there ready, awaiting. There goes the Ghost. They're going to catch on towards Bjergsen. He will be the target. The shockwave comes out. Will he be able to escape it? The death mark is on him. Uses that Zhonya's hourglass. There's going to be the ultimate coming out, and you can see Bjergsen, he's going to be able to get away from this one, surely. No, one more hit should be enough to tow him down. It's going to be Yellow Pete landing it, the double kill from the ultimate of Cogmore, and they're just going to continue to push on through. Godbro has got away, but they've seen him in the bush. They're going to catch on towards him. The harpoon comes out. Yellow Pete the flash, and he's going to try and dump it towards him. The Baron might take him down. It will, and Wicked picks up the kill.
Sunfire Cape making Baron attack him and giving Wicked the final kill. That's a 3-for-0 exchange. Stand United did not even get used. We see a lot of armor in Godbro's items, but he needs magic resist. There is so much residual magic damage. Cogmore deals magic as well as Rumble, and he just got destroyed by that front line. 7-0, and the fairy tale playoffs
seem to be working wonders once again for Yellow Pete. They have the Baron now. 2-0-1. Phantom Dancer and Blade of the Ruin King does mean a lot of damage is going to come out from Yellow Pete, and you saw it really just how effective he was.
For 3 or 4 turret shots. Now with the minion wave, it's going to be even easier. The ball was on Svenskeren, so they were considering an engage. Look for that protect into movement speed from the dissonance. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case for the Wolves. They realize they can't win a team fight if it broke out.
Yeah, the bottom wave now also shoving itself. You can see Virginius' big blob of blue in there on that bottom. You may see Evil Geniuses rotate towards it instead. They're going to keep siege on this middle turret. They've got it below half the hit points now, and now they are rotating around there, maybe just trying to throw off the scent of Copenhagen Wolves. They see Bjergsen's gone in there, and it's going to be Froggen going in. Forces on his hourglass. Now the rest of the team are going to dive in towards it. Godbro's going to get locked up there by Crepo. Crepo tanking the entire team of the Copenhagen Wolves, which has bought time for Evil Geniuses to take down the inhibitor turret, and in comes Froggen, destroys one. Yellow Pete picks up that kill. Wicked also taking a kill of his own on towards Svenskeren. And now the inhibitor goes down. They're going to turn their attention towards the bottom, and there's nothing the Wolves can do about this one. Evil Genius is in full control. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that they're able to do. You've seen Crepo, he just took on 4 members of the Copenhagen Wolves and didn't go down. He pulled so much attention onto him that the rest of the team could take down the tower, and as soon as that tower was down, Evil Genius has moved in to back him up and force the Wolf Pack back and not let them get in on that fight. So well played, and again, Stand United was available, was not even used to save Svenskeren. We have not seen the same impact from Shen in this game as we did in the previous one. Yeah, he's been definitely shut down in this one. As it stands, that top wave is going to get cleared out. The Baron now has worn off from Evil Geniuses, but they don't care because they have a 13,000 gold difference, and it's looking very, very good for Evil Geniuses to make it in towards that semi-final. It's time Fnatic, they're going to start breaking out their books and looking at their strategies against the Evil Geniuses for that semi-final. Yeah, how do you deal with a Cogmore? That is going to be the question. Because at the moment, Yellow Pete has done really, really well with this particular champion. Not a single death from the Evil Geniuses in this particular match. And in the top lane, Svenskeren caught a little bit out of position there. Will take some free poke, but does manage to get back behind the safety of the wall. He's not really been able to build tanky enough as he can. You can see that Aegis of Legion desperately trying to build it on there, but Svenskeren, he's been so locked up, and really everything he's done. Yeah, exactly, and his lane opponent has got a Runic Bulwark completed, as well as the Boots of Swiftness and that Warden's Mail. So such a big difference in terms of items. Evil Geniuses have just brute forced their way onto the tower. Godbro's taken a lot of damage, and we'll see how the fight breaks out. Forcing him out of that fight, you can see the slow coming out. Svenskeren trying to tank it up, but it's Crepo coming in on the side. Lands a perfect ultimate. Svenskeren gets dropped straight away. Chain of Corruption does come out from the test. That's going to help the Wolves escape, but it doesn't matter because the inhibitor turret does go down. The third inhibitor of the game. Evil Geniuses now have the double super minions moving in towards the Copenhagen Wolves, and they can just suffocate Copenhagen Wolves here. They've got super minions coming from the bottom and the middle lanes, and they're just going to slowly but surely poke in towards this turret, and they will be able to choke them down. You can see Godbro, he gets caught out. The arrows come out, but that's a Nexus turret going down, and Evil Genius is slowly poking away the Copenhagen Wolves. Shockwave comes out, but it's not going to be enough to take them down, and that's surely the last hand of the dice. We do see Godbro trying his desperate hand to get in there. He takes down Crepo, but for what? He just manages to get destroyed himself, and now Evil Geniuses turn around. They're losing the Nexus turrets, and the Copenhagen Wolves are just simply spectators right now, as are the rest of us, as Evil Geniuses take the base of the Copenhagen Wolves. It will be EG facing Fnatic in the semi-finals.
10-1. The only death on the table was from Crepo at the very, very end of that game. The Nexus has survived, and Evil Geniuses are just waiting for the Super Minions to stream in here to pull off the attention. The Nexus is going to go down.